Tibet have its own, like one element is a population. The population more than 60 lakh, and the 6 millions we entire our officials, the Tibetan since from here to till we are always official, we like 6 million Tibetans. And then on the third element, as a universal, the nations needs government, and Tibet have its own government, its own lineage of the dynasty, from the 127 before the crisis. The first king, enthronement of the Tibet king is Nyati Tsenpo, and from the Nyati Tsenpo to the lineage or heritage till the 41st king, the Tiral Pachint, and that is the one part of the Tibet, complete Tibet's history, the lineage and heritage of the dynasty. And Tibet, its fourth element is the sovereign country. So these 4 elements, which today the entire 190 something the members of the United Nations, because they are recognized as a country, as a nation, because this 4th element is the most essential and is important. Therefore, in the past, till 1959, the Tibet had all these 4 elements, and then the Tibet as a, we call the 10 major cultures, which it's not only for the Tibet, but it's a universal. Each and every countries and each and every nations have 10 major cultures. This the architect systems of the cultures, and then the medicine system, which we have Tibetan medicine systems. We call in the Soarikpa, Drarikpa, we call in the Tibetan so this sort of the I think, and then the traditions, the cultures, the language, which we have the different language from the mainland China, and then which we have a different language as a universal, the country which we have Tibet is a Tibetan language. And then 4th one is a logic, which we call in Nyaya and Praman, which we do the debate and the logic. According to the universal, you have in the Supreme Court, you have the lawyer and justice through the convict with the issues to resolve. So like this is also one cultural. And then the 5th one is the religious culture, which the Tibet has from the 7th century. We adopt the Buddhism. Before the 7th century, Tibet as a pre-Buddhist, which we call is a born religion. And then on the 6th, which I have told the cultural, it's we call it the poetic system. Poet, the poet, you have some like a famous like Rabindranath Tagore is a very famous about the poem, and poet is also one of the cultural. Without the poet, you can't depress anyone. Through the poet, you can press the numbers of, I think, like supposed to be the Shakespeare, and the other has through the way of the culture as a narration. This is narration is the one of the ways of the culture. So same way, without the narration, you can't write anything else. If you are going to write any articles, if you are going to write any books, if you are going to read any text, we call this as a narration. So the poem, the way of the poem cultural and way of the narration cultural. So these through the scripts we get entire the universal, the global the knowledges. And then the 7th one is we call is synonymous. There's a synonymous. There's too many names in the sky, different names for the sun. So through the too many names for the lotus flowers. So synonymous is also one of the ways of the culture. Then the ninth one is we called one of the major cultures. It's narration, synonymous, and then the last one is cultural and performing arts, which is dance. So these 10 major cultural which we have with the Tibetan Performing Arts Institute. They are preserving the way of the Tibetan culture through the dance and performance and the Tibetan medical, and we have also the astrologers, mathematics. And we have a Tibetan medical and astrologers also institute here for the preservation of the Tibetan culture. So still same thing, you have your own way of the cultural, but tradition is different. We have the traditions, way of life. The way of life of the Tibetan tradition, the foods and wearing of the clothes are the tradition, it's not cultural. So each and every nation have its own cultural and tradition. So same thing, Tibet have still the cultural and the traditions from the histories of the Tibet until today. So this side, I think, what the Tibet, as I said, the Tibet and the rest of the world means whatever you have, the cultural and tradition, and then you have your own country. The country have a 4 elements. So same thing in the past histories of Tibet, from the beginning of the Tibet's history, for 127 before crisis till the 1959, the 4 elements with the complete independent where it was exist there. And then after the lineage and heritage of from the Nyati Tsenpo to Sri Rinpoche, then there was 411 years. There was Tibet itself there was no one, I think, ruler, but it was the different parts of the secretaries of different rulers rules in Tibet. But I think during the 411 years, I think none of country has captured or occupied. Tibet itself was exist through the different regions as rule in Tibet. But 411 years, Tibet was exist its own self-rule with the different ways, but not under the Chinese rule, not under any British India's rule, not under any sort of Russian rule, but itself was also nothing interference, and where even that year also, even that period also. And then after the 1253, in the years the Sakya has ruled in Tibet, the lineage and heritage of the one country, again it was ruled by the Sakya tradition. And from there to till the Sakya, Pangudrupa, Devatsangpa, Ribungpa has ruled more than 300 years. That time also Tibet have its own 4 elements, which I said: the government, the population, and then the territory, and then the sovereign, even that time also. And then on 1642, in the years, His Holiness the 5th Dalai Lama has been enthronement of the spiritual and leaders of the Tibet itself. And from the 5th Dalai Lama till the 14th Dalai Lama, the lineage and the reincarnation, enthronement through His Holiness, the lineage of His Holiness, the Tibet was ruled by His Holiness, and with the complete handling by these 4 elements. So therefore, the past histories of Tibet from the 127 BC to till the 1959, I am saying, till the illegal occupied by the Chinese Tibet, Tibet have its own, complete their own rules by the Tibetans, the dynasty or the lineage and the heritage. And so Therefore, the Tibet have its own 10 major cultures, which you have your own countries, which you have your own nations, similar things. Even the past history, Tibet have a treaty with the different countries. During the Tibet, independent Tibet, Tibet is the treaty with the Ladakh, Tibet in the Sino-Tibet Treaty, 821 to 823, the AD, after the crisis. The treaty and the agreement between the China and Tibet, and during the regime of the king, the Trisong Gyaltsen, the 38th king, which had treaty between the independent treaty between the India and Tibet and China itself, and even the treaty between the Ladakh and Tibet, 1684. Even the treaty between the Nepal and the Tibet is 1856, and because of this treaty, significant, Nepal got members of the United Nations. Nepal government has shown the treaty between the Tibet to the Nepal government itself in the 1856, and with these significant, today the Nepal is become a member of the United Nations, because you have to show how you are the independent country, and what are the agreement between your neighboring country, and what you have all these 4 elements, how you have gone through the historically with the independent country. So this is the one which I think, and then the agreement between the China and Tibet in the August 12, 1912, which we call in similar agreement even in the during the 13th Dalai Lama, and the Water Ox year 1913, the similar agreement. So these are the, I think we have the being an independent country, agreement with the treaty between the neighboring country, and the representative from the government of Tibet and representative from the various neighboring countries. So these are the, I think, which the Tibet, in the past history Tibet, how the Tibet have its own, the significance of the proved as a Tibet was independent country. And so in the after the 1950s, the China start to occupy the Tibet, to enter the Tibet, and then in the 1959, the March, the Tibet was become colonized. So till the 59th, maybe in the 1997-98, the United Nations all have adopted the decolonization. But unfortunately, Tibet was not able to decolonize, and still Tibet is colonized under the communist Chinese rule. And this is, I think, which is one United Nations may be able to do the decolonization, the colonizations of which still exist in the global, but unfortunately Tibet was not able to under the United Nations, as nothing has been, I think, advice has come up about the Tibet's colonization by the Chinese. And the present Tibet, I think you have seen entire in the museum, and the present Tibet is, I think this is the word present Tibet, how the Chinese are the active in inside Tibet in the name of the development, and the Indian, I think the former military, he retired, he have been gone through the entire what is happening inside Tibet today, and what need to do the in favor of the Tibet by the and through the universal and through the rest of the country, rest of the world, and So he have given numbers of, I think, his suggestions what need to do for the urgent for the Tibet. And then today's Tibet is become like this. Like these all pictures are from 2009, and these are the happening inside Tibet. So this is the present Tibet. Even the name of the development, but what are these? These are the significance of development, and this is the sent by our Tibetans who are still who are suffering and who are under the suffer. So they in between the 2009 to till, through the social media we are able to get all this information, and we are not making a propaganda. These are the fact, and these are the reality. Sometimes when we speak in front of the universal, in front of the brothers and sisters in the maybe without showing any, I think, reliable, feel it, because these are the propaganda. But China always saying that Tibetan peoples are doing the propaganda. These are the propaganda. And then the outsiders, the non-Tibetans who are writing about the Tibet, who did research on the Tibet inside today's Tibet. So I think this is the not propaganda. And the non-Tibetans need not to do the propaganda. Non-Tibetans need not to pro-Tibet. Non-Tibetans need not to become anti-China, because they are supporting what is real and fact and on the reality. So this is I think which is happening. The present school students doing demonstrations in the for this sake of the survival of the Tibetan language, and many of younger generations, they are doing demonstrations for the sake of the preservation of the cultural mineral resources, and for the sake of the environment and the water resources. Today, many of international the researchers, many of international think tank, especially the Brahmacharya, he said Tibet is not only the Tibet depend and not only the fact of the cultural basis of the culture, but Tibet is resources of the water. Almost 10 major, I think, rivers and waters are flowing from the Tibet, from the Brahmaputra to Indus to the Satluj, and the other waters resource from the Laos and Cambodia, and then the Vietnam's, the Tibet as a group of the world, as everybody says, but how the Tibet, I think, have importance of the environment and the water resources. Brahmacharya did a huge research on the Tibet, especially on the Tibet's environment, and particularly he have written books on Tibet's the resource of the water. So Tibet is even the Bangladesh, Myanmar, India, and Nepal, the Bhutan, they are also, their resource of the waters are from the Tibet. And now the present situation, the too many dams are constructed by the Chinese government for the sake of the development, because they need the electricity. And through the electricity they are trying to make too many things, I think, different equipments and diversions of the waters. And to even the present Tibetans who have never been, I think, been in any, I think, gone through the in-depth about the Tibetans, like here in exile, they're getting an entire education, the systems of the way of the Tibetan, but they are not, I think, able to get it. But they know the cultural through their families, through the, I think, the teachers, and through the senior Tibetans. So they are giving their life, they are burning their life. As I 144 from the 2009, giving their life, the important life, the valuable life. Why they are giving for life? Are they happy with the Chinese present rule? No. Therefore, they are giving a life. They have never seen His Holiness. They have never seen a Mao Zedong. They have never seen a cultural revolution. But because they have a nationality, thinking of the nationalist, thinking of the nationality, importance of the culture, values of the culture, and then for the importance, valuable the rich cultural, and is particularly for the religious cultural which we have. So for the survival of that they are giving a life. And 144 as from the age of the 15 to the age of the 80s, 60s. So today the present Tibet, as I have shown too many examples in front of you, this is also what is happening inside Tibet. And they are waiting to back His Holiness in His Holiness Palace, the Potala Palace. They are wanting to get blessing of His Holiness. They are waiting to they own the systems which rules and by the Tibetan itself, not by the communist Chinese religion. So on basis of that they are giving their life. And destructions of the monastery since from the 1959, and then till today the same thing is happening inside Tibet. Destructions of the monastery, and then the people are doing a peaceful demonstrations in front of the Chinese government. The arrest and the imprisonment, and then for the sentence of the 5 years, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, 14 years, and torture in the prison, and in the final event they will be I think released from the prison, I think not able to survive. And many of them, I think, fortunately they are able to escape from the different ways. So therefore, since from the 1980s till the last 2008, a numbers of, I think, former political prisoners we may able to reach here, receive here, and then we try to get more right information from them and what is happening inside Tibet and how they are torturing in the prison. And Tibet itself is like, whether they are in the prison or not prison, but Tibet itself like a prison. You are not able to move, you are freely. And the entire news, I think, here in democratic country, I think each and every moment will becomes of the news. Whether it's the good or bad, through the media, everything will be easy to get. But inside Tibet, I think, through the social media, in the last few decades or maybe last 10 years, we are easy to get. But even they are bit scared. So this is, I think, the present Tibet, past and present Tibet. Future Tibet, the future of the Tibet is depend with the universal support. Because we are not saying a complete independence. There is no hope to get complete independence. Even the Chinese leader Deng Xiaoping in the 1979, under his leadership had said, accept the independent, we are ready to talk and dialogue to solve the Tibet issue. Accept the independent. It means dialogue and negotiation, peaceful dialogue and negotiation, and for the survival of the Tibet's unique culture and tradition. and for the survival of the heritage of the Tibet itself. So therefore I think in the 1979, according to the Danish version, and after the long discussions, after the long visions of the Solenists, and we accept the genuine autonomy through the negotiations. The foreign policy and border security, there's 22 countries in the universal, in the rest of the country are enjoying autonomous, like in Åland Island, in the Scotland, even in the South Tyrol, Papua New Guinea. So there's numbers of, I think, autonomous regions they have under the different arrangement. So even in the China there's not as an exact autonomous, but they call special administrations, like in Hong Kong and Macau. But China itself is one country, two system. They accept in 1951 one country, two system. But unfortunately it was not held for the Tibet. The 70-point agreement, which was forcefully agreed by the Chinese leader to accept for the Tibetans, our delegations. But even then, that was also not success. So one country, two system, we are saying the democratic way, like in Hong Kong is democratic way of the functioning, which is under the communist Chinese special administration. So here we are future of Tibet means the genuine autonomy, which include entire 3 provinces. We have in Tibet we have a historical 3 provinces: Dote, Dome and Uyghur. The map of the Tibet is like a shoe. So in the shape of the shoes, entire these 3 provinces, and traditionally provinces, we are demanding not the separated, which China's today, Tibet is divided into 5 different parts. Tibet autonomous region, and then the 4 different, I think, the prefectures and the county, they have included in their own part of the different part of the we call here in the state or district, but they are different counties in their own way of the versions of the political technical terms. So we are saying that the historical map of the Tibet, which we have from the 127 before the crisis till the 1959, and even in the 2000 till the 2010, from the 2008 to 2010, there was started the dialogue and negotiations, and finally we have already submitted the document. The Chinese government has asked that what are the written the arrangement of the negotiation and dialogue, and that we have already submitted it as visions of the autonomous region. Except they have already said that foreign policy and the security of itself, and the rest of the 20 different arrangements which have the autonomous regions which are enjoying, as I told, the different South Tyrol and Åland Island and the different autonomous regions. So similarly, we are saying that we are asking the autonomous region, and for the benefit of the Tibetans and for the benefit of the Chinese itself. And even we are not the anti-Chinese. For the general Chinese, I think people, they are innocent. But the communist regime who rules, the few people who are handling today the communist China. This is unfortunate because till the 1959 there was no border between the India and China. There is no border between the India and Nepal. There is no border between the Myanmar and China. Tibet, eastern we have a border, and the northern side we have a border. We have neighboring 5 neighboring countries. Bhutan. Today already 24 I think dialogues with the border dialogue within Bhutan and China. It was not successful because there was no border between the Bhutan and China, because it was with Tibet and Bhutan. Nepal, unfortunately, they are getting a lot of financial help, so they are more or less happy with the Chinese presence. But in the past history, Nepal and Tibet have an agreement. They have treaties, and they have shown that treaty that they got members of the United Nations, as I told. And then the princess of the Nepal has married with our King Songtsen Ganpon in the 7th century. Even the princess of the Chinese has married with the same King Songtsen Ganpon in the 7th century. So these are the, I think, which histories, the past histories, which is reliable we have. And so the past and present, I have mentioned what is today, and then the future we are demanding the autonomous region. So therefore we are appealing the international, the brothers and sisters here in India. We are trying to get support from the Tibet support group. We have Indian Tibet support group. To get your support through the general public supports, to pressure your parliamentarians. And now we have an India Tibet support group and the all-party parliamentarian support group. Same thing, we have many Tibet support groups. Now Tibet support group convention, the national convention, 7 days going to held in Brussels. More than, I think, 200 something Tibet support group is going to join that, participate in that convention. So we need entire, when you are brother and sister, when you are going back to your country, we have more than 225 something Tibet support groups today. And then the numbers of, I think, resolutions in favor of the Tibet's present situation, and then the future of the Tibet, the resolution has been adopted in the various parliament. So therefore, while we are here to organize the talk by the museum in front of the international brothers and sisters, and about the Tibet's awareness, because Tibetan peoples are suffering. And in the 20th century, only the one nation who lost the country, that is the only Tibet. Entire global, in the 20th century, become independent. And then in the beginning of the 21st century, entire countries become a more democratic country. But still the communist China and some of the few countries, they are handling the communist rule. But way of the political is only in communist name of the communist rule, but I think economic is more or less it's the more way of like liberalism, but unfortunate. Present Chinese rule is suffering is not only suffered by the Tibetans, but in the mainland China itself. I think younger generations, I think, have given a life in 1989 Tiananmen Square. I'm always saying in the university, I said China have a three trees problems: Tibet, Taiwan, and Tiananmen Square. Today, China is against Taiwan to become a United Nations member. And if I think only the people's voice will come inside in China, then I think the China will change. is unfortunate because they have huge, I think, facilities given the military, and militaries are enjoying all these facilities. So therefore they feel whatever the Chinese leaders and the communist leaders can give any, I think, signals, they are blindly to do it. So this, I think, this is the present Tibet scenario in the rest of the world. And you are enjoying, you have your full rights, you have your own government, you have your own voice, but we are completely dependent. Today the Tibetan in exile is also dependent, politically dependent, financially dependent. Inside Tibet, unfortunately, under the domination, completely dependent. So here therefore you are the, I think, wise for the wiseness, I think you have to speak. And I'm very happy because you all come here to listen about the Tibets. And once, I think, as a human being, I think we need to do. We have to do. And the losing of the Tibetan culture is not only for the Tibetans. If we lose the one culture of the universal, it is not only loss for the Tibetans. And I think today, although we are in exile, but because of the universal support, because of the universal, I think, morally and physically and financially support, we are able to exist. And from the 1959 to compare to today, we are able to speak in front of our voice in the entire, I think, whenever and wherever our people can get a platform. So you can do organize some like talks and do the panel discussions. And because you have nothing, any border between your country and China, but only the India and Nepal and Bhutan and Myanmar and Bangladesh. When Aung San Suu Kyi was house arrest, I have been several times in the Jantar Mandar and the Burmese movement. And his voice, I think, if the universal voice support is there, I think she was released. And now she is, I think, overall, I think, her party is ruling. And day before she was in Beijing. When she was in house in arrest, I think Chinese governments are not, I think, single voice, I think, support voice from any, I think, Chinese leaders. But now I think they are receiving to her like a, we call it nation's leader. But she's not president, she's not prime minister, but she's a noble learned. And then now her party is ruling in Myanmar. So therefore, the 5 days visit. So this, I think, political changes. And today His Holiness has given up entire political devolutions with His Holiness, the political, from the 2011. And His Holiness is, now we are always saying that His Holiness is not only for the Tibetans, it's universal. Even I am saying that more than 57 doctorate degrees, more than 57 the medals, the honored as the Nobel Peace Prize, the Nobel, the medals and the American gold medals and British. So compared to the other independent nations, I think none of us, I think, awarded like His Holiness. Even the numbers of, I think, leaders in this universe, religious leaders and the political leaders, but I think none have, I think, have received this sort of, I think, which His Holiness is honored by the universal. So therefore, I think I briefed about the past and present and future. So why this talk, and why they have organized the awareness about the Tibet? Because we need your support. We are only dependent with the universal support, and without the universal support, without the support to each other, even in your own life, the individual life also needs support from the government, support from the family, support from the friends, and then you will able to, I think, survive and able to reach and able to do something. So for the nation, I think your independent nations, I think you have full voice. Therefore, on the basis of this, I hope you will be able to do. Once you will back your country, once you will back in your nation, and once you will back in respected your places, you can make in representative of the Tibetan community as a human being. This is, I think, which I would like to appeal, and I would like to request you can write a letter to your parliamentarians to raise the issues in Tibet, in your parliament, and to speak about the Tibet. And then once your leaders visit Beijing, or your Beijing's leader to visit your country, you can ask them to raise the Tibet issue, to dialogue, to start the dialogue and negotiation with the Chinese leader, sincerely, not just saying that we are ready to open, we are always open to dialogue with the Tibet, His Holiness Dalai Lama, that nothing has happened from the 2010 to till today. Even Xi Jinping, already 2 years, I think, he's completing his regime, but many of, I think, international intellectuals who are, I think, doing research and watchdog on China is saying that Xi Jinping is equally to the Mao Zedong. And begging to the other nations, creating problems with the neighboring country. So with this, I think, few words. Once again, I'd like to thank the Tibet Museum, the staffs, and the presence who over here, our international brothers and sisters. And as being a Tibetan, as being a human being, I appealed here. His Holiness always said that he have 3 commitments, His Holiness. First, to promote the human value. Secondly, as a religious leader, as a Buddhist practitioner, His Holiness said to protect the peace and to promote the peace through the religious harmony. And third one, His Holiness said, as a Tibetan's faith and belief with the His Holiness blessing, through the His Holiness, the wise Tibetan will be get blessing, and the Tibet issue will be solved within his blessing and meeting with the international support. So therefore I appeal you all here as a human being, as a citizen of this universal. We need more support, political support, strong support. And 21st century is more or less now conflict and the more technologies and more competitive life. So therefore I think we are very, I think, hesitant to how the Tibet issue will be solved. And even but fortunately, it's really, we are happy that our peoples are in the entire and global, more than the 30 countries. Every time whenever the Chinese leader visit their entire country, the voice is always there. Thank you so much.